So just quickly making a little note, we're using these paraforce bands now, which feels so much more smooth. And it's like there's a lot less resistance when you're working through your bottom range of motion, when you're working through typically what's going to be your weaker range of motion. But that builds up in tension really quickly the further up you go in your range. So like the bicep curls, I'm able to get like excessive range of motion. So as kind of a standard, I really only try to get to about the bottom of my sternum for a full range rep, because I'm hitting about 90 degrees there at my elbow. I don't really care about that extra range past the 90 degrees, but I'll make it so that I can get it up to about my nose, just because I'm lowering it. That's just more eccentric range of motion. That's more tension that I can subject my muscles to through that range. And I think I did that for 4 reps just then. And then it very quickly goes from like nose all the way down to sternum. I'm not going to bother about that range. Again, full range on this is getting to about that 90 degrees, which is going to be about the base of your sternum for most people. And then from then, again, it feels super, super smooth. I'm not going to be really adequate at explaining why these are so different from the original bands. I need like a material physicist to really go into the details of why this is so different, and maybe the guys who actually created it can open up a little bit more. But yeah, going through it, it mostly just becomes like that big struggle of, holding on to it. And so as I'm going through it, I feel most of the tension kind of through what I believe is my brachioradialis and my elbow. And it's basically just working through here up into the bottom 2/3 of my bicep, not too much up in the shoulder, which is what you would get if you're doing a little bit more of a standard bicep curl where you are pulling it out in front and probably getting your elbows a little bit more forward. But here it's a drag curl, right? So just trying to drag it up your belly in essence. But yeah, paraforce bands, they definitely feel a lot smoother. They definitely allow for more partial reps. So the total fatigue, the total amount of force output that you can get in a single set, which is what we're measuring, which is what we're aiming to achieve, not how many full range of motion reps can you get, and then after that it just doesn't count. Enough with that way of thinking. It's total BS, especially with this sort of training device. But yeah, it definitely allows for more partial reps of motion. Again, the sensation of it's completely different. And do these, it just feels so much more smooth up until you're so fatigued. And so, and that's kind of how we designate where does my range of motion like diminish down to. So as I'm going through it, I started off going like all the way up to my nose, but from there, see how high I can get. I'm still recovering from my set. It's like, I'm gonna go to the point of feeling I'm hitting a wall. I can't go any higher than that. And then eventually I'm going to get so tired of where I get to the point of I'm getting to about my belly button and I'm hitting a wall there. It's not going up any higher. And then for my last few reps, it may just be a case I'm pulling it like this 1 or 2 inches. I'm still working the muscles. I'm still getting fatigued as hell. You just find that new range where you can hit that wall. And then just simply saying, hey, I'm still stressing the muscles. I'm still fatiguing them just at a different range of motion. And you got to just really grit your teeth and just keep going for it from there. These allow that to happen much more effectively than the original bands, just because of that smooth sensation that they have. Again, I don't know how to explain it any better than that. You just got to go by feeling on it. And yeah, so that's the first review on paraforce bands with the drag curls. Alrighty guys, so I'm hitting my high pull next. So my high pull, I'm only looking to get about 90 degrees at the elbow on my pull. There's a lot of sun coming right on me there. Just gonna squat down here. So aiming for between my belly button and my sternum is about what I'm looking for at top range here. I'm aiming for 40 reps, that's what I got last time, but my intention is to get at least 22 reps. So 22 reps or more hitting above the belly button on my reps. And I think I'm recovering from a bicep curl, so let's go for it. Getting to my belly button, and it just feels like I'm hitting a wall there. It's not going up any higher. Oh, I think I got 22 going up to my belly button, thereabout. Seriously, the bar, smooth, and then just stops. Don't feel like, at least for this movement, working with the light gray band doubled over like that, it's just not going any further. And that's part of why we want to get to just like that 90-degree angle at the elbow. So I lose a lot of mechanical advantage working above that angle. So my bicep, it only connects up to around here on my forearm. I mechanically, so it is obviously possible to pull within that 90-degree range, but the amount of work you have to do to get any substantial amount of resistance past that point, you have to work a lot harder for it. So we kind of class that as just that optimal range of motion where you're strongest. Otherwise, you're going to have diminishing returns. You're going to have to work with much lighter loads. If you have it in your head, it's like, you have to be hitting as high as you possibly can through a given range of motion. Working from about the sternum and higher on this, not going to be much use, especially because the bar is so narrow. This isn't a standard barbell where if I'm doing something like a clean or a typical barbell overhead press, let me move the camera, my hands are going to be outside my thighs. But for this one, the bars are only about the width of my thighs. So I've got to be working, hands are on my thighs. If my hands were outside, hitting that 90-degree angle, it's going to be much higher. But here, I'm only working here. And so hitting to that belly button region, it's going to be about appropriate. But no, this is mostly about looking at the paraforce bands and how they differ so much from the original bands. They don't allow so much more range of motion. But my biggest review on this is because you can get, or it feels like it's much more adequate at allowing for partial repetitions. You get to those full range reps, and then you have to make sure that you're going slow, going in a controlled manner, trying to, at least in the beginning, aiming for that 2 seconds up, 2 seconds down cadence or thereabout. And then making sure that, mentally, you're staying in control. You're not hitting a point of, oh, this just sucks, I'm just going to give up. Rather, you have that rep count to try and maintain, because your brain's going to try and make you give up before your body's actually ready to. Your body's going to be capable of doing so much more. And that's why we keep track of those reps. And then for me, especially with the high pulls and the bicep curls I'm doing at this moment, it's like I've hit 40 reps on this band size, but now it becomes a case of doing 40 more quality reps. So I keep track of, hey, I did the partial reps last time to about, I started from about the 21st or 22nd rep, whatever it is in my notes, and now it becomes do better than that, but still in the end, you're getting to 40. So with the high pulls, for example, I was trying to hit even more reps getting to my belly button, or as close as I could. So that's more like total force in the beginning. It's going to build up more fatigue. So the partial reps, even though you're technically doing less of them as you're going to 40, it's still going to be much more fatigue that you're then having to tolerate through the rest of the partial reps. So a lot more drive for adaptation and strength changes with that. And really, I find that it's mostly just like a big mental game. It's like you have to choose to just embrace the suffering and choose to keep going. You can't just stop. So there's like, this is so much mindset training, so much mental training, working with the X3, and just deciding that, hey, I'm not going to give up. I'm just going to keep going. It sucks. It hurts. It burns like hell. But you got to keep moving through that, and you got to stay calm and collected through that. Or you can start screaming and shouting, whatever like your persona is for it. Sometimes I scream and shout. It just kind of depends. But yeah, so high pull paraforce bands, they suck. All right, X3 deadlifts with the paraforce black plus dark gray bands doubled over. Aim is to get 18 or more reps. Wish me luck. Whew. Ah! 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 Oh my God. Ah. Your butt. Ah. Well, my butt feels awful. Oh. Oh. Eh. That was same as with a lot of these other movements so far. I felt amazing for like the first 12 or 13 reps. Was still able to get, I think, 15 or 16 full range. And then it was just like those last, I don't remember how many I got now, but like those last 3 or 4 reps, the fatigue just escalated like crazy. So where it's been with the original bands, it's more of a gradual build up in the fatigue, but this is much more abrupt. That's how it's been feeling in every single exercise. It's like smooth, 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 you hit a wall. And if you keep hitting that wall, the fatigue ramps up. So even though it feels really strong, it felt strong for the first dozen or so reps. And then I very, very abruptly felt my ass and my hamstrings engaging and fatiguing like fucking mad. Heart is still freaking pounding. That's very normal on the deadlifts. Whole back of the legs are just done. Or kaput. Bent over rows, going to try for the first time with the black paraforce band. And we'll see right now if I can even budget. And also moving out of the sun. Well, that definitely couldn't get it up into my hips, which I'm fine with, because optimal range of motion through this movement is we think about halfway up the thigh. I like to get the first several reps into my hip, kind of the same as I like to get sometimes my first bicep curls all the way up to my nose. But I could get it to about halfway up my thigh, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to keep on doing that. That was like 80% form engagement, just a little bit through my mid-back, especially at the very bottom when I kind of like hollow out my torso, pull and allow my shoulders to shrug, and then pulling them back, really trying to work in between my shoulder blades, really trying to get my mid and lower traps to engage as much as possible. Still works your grip strength like crazy though, and I don't think that part ever ends. Gotta have strong forearms for this.